Hey guys, it's JP Fluellen, and today we are going to talk about how to sell your home in any market for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And if you're new to the channel, I am JP Fluellen. I have been a real estate professional for the last 20 years as a real estate investor and the last 15 as a real estate agent. I have sold over $100 million in real estate, and I have sold over 450 houses by myself. And this is how we help you sell your home. And so we're just going to give you a quick update on the Cheyenne market, Cheyenne, Wyoming. That is where I reside. That is where I've done most of my real estate deals over the last 20 years. And we're going to go and dive into a little bit of the stats about the area, and then we're going to jump in on how to sell your home quickly. An update, the direction of home prices over the last year. So what's been interesting with real estate in our market is that we are always usually a couple of years behind the rest of the United States. And so it takes a lot of time before things kind of trickle to us. And the good thing about that is that by the time it reaches us, a lot of that stuff tends to filter out because the market has changed by the time it reaches to us. And so we tend to get the lesser brunt of most nationwide, whatever you want to call them, issues, catastrophes, good things, all that stuff. And during COVID, things went like gangbusters here. In 2008, we only got hit by about 13%. And so a lot of these things that hit, we didn't actually get our 2008 until like 2010, early 2011. And by the time it hit us, like I said, it was filtered out quite a bit. And so right now, post-apocalyptic rates, everybody hates the rate right now. Our market has still been pretty strong. We only filtered out by about 7% that first year after COVID. And now I think we're sitting right around 4%. And our pricing hasn't gone completely bananas like a lot of places. We're sitting right around, as our average price, $385,000 for a single family home on average. Whereas last year, $381,000. So you can see we haven't really gone too crazy with the year over year appreciation. So the good thing with that is that homes can stay affordable. The bad news is that those big paydays for a lot of people that are looking to make a bunch of money in just 1 year of living in a house, or even just a couple of years, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, we all know that now we're under this new administration, things can change as, people are kicking down doors and sending people packing from their long-term jobs and things like that. But I think overall, you can be the judge. The best time of year to sell a home is between March and August. So if you're thinking about putting your home on the market, that has been historically really, really good for our area. And in most areas, that is usually pretty good. If you're going to list your home, list it between March and August. One gives you a bunch of lead time to get the marketing done. And by the time you get an offer, you're about 30 to 45 days out from closing. And you are getting your home sold just in time for kids to get out of school. And then you have the summer months, and then get your home on the market before school starts. That way you have enough time to get your home sold and get settled in, and then start that new school year. So that is usually the optimal time frame. Now, where this might change, because weather has a lot to do with how people are fanatics about looking at houses, that this might change if you have good weather all year round. And in some places, putting your home on the market during the summer months when it's a bazillion degrees outside may not be ideal for a lot of people, but just keep that in mind. And we can also dial that in. There's also some pricing strategies and some different things we can do if you need to sell during the winter months. There are some ways where we can position your house to where really it doesn't matter what time of year, because we have some tips and tricks that we can do to help facilitate a successful transaction in the least busier times, traditionally times of year. How to determine the best price to list your home. So the way that we typically will price your house is based on comparables in the area, and then we make specific adjustments that are unique to your property. So if you are in a different part of area that has a higher price point, even though the comps may not be exactly like your property, we make specific adjustments on that. We also adjust for price per square foot. We also adjust for how much finished square footage you have. We also can make adjustments also based off of the finishes. Because Zillow doesn't go in your house and look at your finishes. So you might have amazing finishes. I know right now gold is coming back, which is super weird, which also makes it funny because in 10 years from now, gold is going to look outdated because gold was super popular in the early 2000s and late 90s. So it'll be interesting to see how the trends keep changing. So we'll be able to make some adjustments based on if your home is trendy, if it's modern, if it's updated, and those kinds of things. So that is definitely helpful as well. And also, when you're trying to sell your home, we get questions all the time about like, what remodeling improvements do we need to make for the best financial return? And the truth is that those remodeling projects should have been done years ago. And because now you're not going to get those appreciated values for those repairs that you did. So what does that mean? That means that if you need to make some improvements, make the minimal amount of improvements that you need to make your home sellable. So that means that don't go to your house, through your house, and start replacing all the, windows and start remodeling your basement and doing all these things just to get it ready to put on the market, because you're not going to see the returns. The stats are somewhere between 70 and 80 cents on the dollar that you get in a value for the amount of money you spend. So that means you're basically losing 20% of every dollar that you're using to spend to get your house ready to put it on the market, because you're not getting the appreciation from the improvements. But the good news is that it does help the sellability of the property. What does that mean? The sellability of the property, that it looks better in photos, that you're not going to get nitpicked when people are going through the house and doing showings. They're not going to be like, well, why is this way? You're also going to overcome some objections by getting this work done. But when you do that, you just got to keep in mind that you're not going to get dollar for dollar returns on the property. Now, another thing I want to point out along with these improvements is that when you are doing home improvements, I highly suggest to contact your realtor before you start making improvements to the house, because you might think, or some sales guy has reeled you in on some ridiculous improvement, and then all of a sudden you go to sell it, and then, my realtor told me I'd get XYZ returns on my property, and it's just not there. One caveat I will say is, one of the biggest ones is solar. Now, if you're a solar salesman and you're watching this, I apologize up front, but the raw truth is that solar does not add value to the property. It's a utility, so keep that in mind. Having a Tesla charging station in your property may or may not add value depending on what part of the country you're in. In my part of the country, that does not add value, because a lot of times it costs money, as well as, and this is probably just a completely off topic, but if you own electric vehicle, it actually costs you more to get registered because of the taxing that it puts on the grid. Things that they don't tell you. Years ago, they used to say things that make you go, So, all right, moving on. How to encourage honest feedback from showings. Well, we here in Cheyenne, we have automated showing feedback. A lot of times we can get feedback through, if somebody uses the lockbox and goes shows your house, we can get feedback from the agent that showed the property, and whether that's the price, or they didn't like the layout, or the colors, or why did they do this, or we're not interested, or if my people do put in an offer, it's probably going to be a lowball offer. So those are the kinds of feedbacks we can get, and the system actually tracks them going into the house, and then we'll send them a quick, hey, do you have any feedback? A lot of times I'll get notifications through text, and then I will just text them and say, hey, did your people like the property? Do you guys have any feedback or is any interest? And then try to make some adjustments that way. And then a lot of questions we get is, how do I marry two closings together? So I have my house for sale in one area. It is now under contract. We're set to close on April whatever. And then I have to buy another property in another area. Then typically what we do is we have automatic extensions built into our contracts. So that way we're able to make adjustments to marry the two dates of closing together. So that way we can have every single time we can have a flawless closing, dual closings essentially. Another way we can do it is we can send the paperwork from one property to the closing of the other one, and they can sign both closings at the same time, rather than close on one, travel 3 days to just go close on the other house. So, and then a lot of times the agent will just hold onto those keys when they get into town. They can close that way as well. How to handle tax considerations if you have a lot of equity. I'm not a tax person, so you'll have to consult your local tax accountant for the exact specifications on how this works. But my understanding is that you must own a house for at least 2 years or 2 out of the last 5. So what does that mean? That means that you have had to have resided in the property for the last 2 out of 5 years, and you can earn up to $250,000 per individual or $500,000 for a couple. So what that means is that when you close, that if you profited $250,000 or more and you're married up to $500,000, then you don't have to pay capital gains on those funds. And again, check with your accountant to make sure that that is 100% accurate, but I have done this multiple times and that is my understanding on how that works. How to negotiate a lower commission with a real estate agent. Well, this is an interesting conversation because it is negotiable with your agent, as well as it is what is considered customary in your market. And that is a conversation that you need to have because the game has changed. In August of 2024, there was a ruling that came down that changed the game to where sellers technically don't have to pay a commission to a buyer's agent. So what does that mean? It means that 1 is you could just refuse to pay. 2, you could negotiate to a different number. Or 3, that if you choose not to offer a commission, then your home could potentially sit on the market for much longer than you would like. So usually when, I always, everybody's heard the, 2 in the hand is worth 1 in the bush, or no, 2 in the bush is worth, I don't know, whatever. You guys know the saying. But it means basically that when opportunity knocks, don't just dismiss it, try to work with it and then see what's the best outcome. Next one is considerations if you're planning on selling without an agent, then you want to think about a lot of things. One is, how are you going to set up showings? How are you going to get feedback? How are you going to price a home? Do you have availability full time to make sure that you're catching every opportunity to sell your house on your own? And if you are going to choose an agent, you want to think about full-time or part-time agents. Is this a friend at work? Is this somebody that does this professionally? What is their track record? And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, do you have the time and the energy to do this to save yourself a few bucks? There is a stat that's been a long-standing stat with NAR, the National Association of Realtors, that home buyers actually make 18% more by listing with a real estate agent because one is they do this full time, they know how to negotiate, they know how to price the house, and they can get you all the paperwork and negotiate and network, and they have a sphere and they have access to all the things, and they can syndicate your listing, and the list goes on and on and on and on. They have social clout, they have a YouTube channel, they have a lot of reach. There's all of these things that actually help the success of your home selling in 2025. Last but not least, we've heard a lot of things about whether there's hidden fees. There are no hidden fees. Everything is disclosed. If you look at your settlement statement, every single line item is there. It is on the listing sheet. Some things to consider are costs for title insurance, attorneys, invoices that need to get paid on the closing statement, recording fees, title insurance. I think I said that already. If there's any internal fees with a real estate agent, what kind of negotiations did you guys do when you did your listing agreement? And a lot of those fees are disclosed in the listing agreement as well. So just double check. If you need to have an attorney to help you go over these documents, it might be something worthwhile. Just making sure that everything is transparent. We want to make sure that our sales with you are successful, and you are our biggest fan, and we want to make sure that you're happy. So you can tell your friends, because referrals are our favorite form of flattery. I'm JP Fluellen, Titan Real Estate Team at Real, and I hope this was helpful on how to sell your home and be successful in 2025. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace!